All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep, literally, into a problem that costs a fortune, threatens our food supply, and happens almost completely out of sight. We're talking about the world of aquaculture, or fish farming, and a hidden crisis that's taking a massive bite out of the entire industry.
So I want you to just look at this number for a second. 27,000 billion.
So what is that? Well, that's the annual loss in Iranian Toman from fish just dying in that country's aquaculture industry alone. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's over $500 million every single year. Gone. This isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a silent crisis that affects food security and the livelihoods of thousands of farmers.
Okay, so let's get into our first section, a multi-billion-dollar problem. To really get why this is happening, we need to understand the sheer scale of loss in modern fish farming and how it works.
And look, this isn't just an issue in one country. It's a global problem. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, get this, over 20%, that's 1/5 of all farmed fish, are lost before they ever make it to harvest. I mean, can you imagine if a car company had to just scrap one out of every 5 cars it made? It's completely and totally unsustainable.
So what's the deal here? What's causing all this loss?
Well, ironically, it's the very methods we've created to be more efficient. See, to keep up with demand, fish are packed into these super high-density pens. But that creates a ton of stress for the animals, which just tanks their immune systems. And what you get is the perfect storm, a breeding ground for these massive, catastrophic disease outbreaks.
All right, Section 2. We're calling this the invisible threats below, because we're going to talk about the core challenges that fish farmers are up against, enemies they often can't even see until it's way too late.
You know, the crazy part is just the sheer variety of threats they're dealing with. It's not just one thing. We're talking everything from bacterial infections that cause these nasty ulcers to parasites, fungi, and of course, deadly viruses that can wipe out a population almost overnight. And on top of all that, you have environmental stress. Just poor water quality can lead to mass die-offs. It's like fighting a war on multiple fronts all at once.
And you know, the human side of things just complicates it even more. Most of these farms, they can't afford to have a full-time vet on staff, so they're relying on just visual checks, often by laborers who aren't trained to spot the early signs of disease. And what does that lead to? Well, they miss the signs, and then they often overuse antibiotics. Which, by the way, is not only expensive and often doesn't even work, but it's a huge environmental problem.
Okay, so that brings us to Section 3, a doctor in the water. Faced with this massive problem, a team started asking a really interesting question. What if you could have a doctor right there in the water 24/7? And their answer is the Absan system.
No, but really, think about that for a second. How on earth can you monitor the health of 1 million individual fish all at the same time? I mean, they're underwater. It sounds impossible, right? Well, it turns out the answer is a really clever mix of smart sensors and artificial intelligence.
Okay, so here's how the Absan system actually works. It's basically a 3-step process. First, you've got this network of specialized underwater cameras and sensors. They're constantly collecting data. We're talking oxygen levels, pH, temperature, the whole deal. Then, step 2, a powerful AI, a neural network, gets to work. It analyzes all that data, all those images. It's literally watching how the fish swim, looking for signs of disease, and it's even counting them. And finally, step 3, if that AI spots anything wrong, boom, it sends an instant alert right to the farmer's phone, complete with a diagnosis and a plan of action. It's like having a vet and a biologist on call 24/7.
And get this, it's not just a cool idea, it's incredibly accurate. We're talking 90% accuracy when it's estimating the weight of the fish. And for disease detection and counting the population, 80% accuracy. I mean, that's a level of insight that it was science fiction a few years ago. Totally impossible to achieve.
All right, on to Section 4, Absan versus the world. Because of course, Absan isn't the only company trying to solve this problem. So let's take a look at how it stacks up against the competition.
So when you actually break down the competition, a really clear picture starts to form. You've got these expensive foreign competitors like a CageEye or an Aqua AI. They might be good at one or two things, but they're not the whole package. They aren't an all-in-one solution. Then you've got the cheaper domestic options,
But they're missing the most important part, that key AI for diagnosing diseases. And that's where Absan comes in. It's designed to hit that perfect sweet spot, a system that does everything and is actually affordable for the average farmer.
So Absan's real edge, what makes it a game changer, really comes down to this. It's a single, integrated system that is not only highly accurate, but also affordable. By catching diseases early, it slashes costs, cuts way down on antibiotic use, and it's built to be simple enough for any farmer to use, not just a tech expert. Okay, last section. Section 5, the future of the farm. Because for the team behind Absan, this is really just the beginning. So what's next on the horizon?
Well, they have a really clear and, frankly, ambitious roadmap. They're launching this year and getting that crucial customer feedback. Then, in 2025, they plan to expand all across Iran. And by 2026, they're looking to go international into markets like Turkey and the Gulf states. And all the while, they're going to be developing completely new ways to use their core technology.
And this is where, to me, it gets really cool. The team is already looking at adapting this same AI for poultry farms. Think about that. They're also working on a robotic fish harvester. And they're expanding to new species, like sturgeon, where they're even developing AI that can tell the sex of the fish, which is huge for caviar production. It just shows you how versatile this platform really is.
You know, their tagline really says it all. Absan, smarter than any look. It perfectly captures what they're doing. It's about replacing human guesswork with hard data, providing a kind of intelligence that our own eyes just can't match. And so all of this leaves us with a pretty big question. As our world's population keeps growing, we absolutely need smarter, more sustainable, and yes, more humane ways to produce our food. So is this kind of thing, this AI-driven oversight, a doctor in the water, is this the future of how we're going to feed ourselves? Well, based on what we've seen here today, it's a very, very promising start.